Hello everyone, I am back and this time I've got a video prepared for those sitting or planning to sit the exam in July 2024. So as you all know, the January exam's just been over and this is the right time to be thinking about if you are going to take the exam in July. Um, this video is mainly focusing on MRCOG Part 2. I will be doing a different video for part one. Um, I was going to do this in a free sort of webinar style, so you could ask me questions live as well. However, due to problems with getting email addresses of people and trying to uh, select a date, it's not been possible to arrange that. So what I've done instead is recorded a video for you, so it's always there if ever you need any help about the MRCOG Part 2 exam. I'll be going through um, the exam format. I'll be going through what are the resources that you could access in order for you to prepare for the exam. I will be going through things that you need to do in the next sort of 6 months um, in order to prepare well, because preparation is key. This is no exam that you can just walk into and attempt it. I mean, obviously, you could just walk and attempt if you like, but that doesn't guarantee success. But if you want to pass this exam, then you need to put in the effort now. And I remember when I was trying to study for my Part 2 exam and trying to also work full time at the same time and having life around you, it was really challenging. But one thing I always said to myself was, I don't want to fail the exam. And that motivation was enough for me to keep going. So I used to push myself. So even after doing a long shift at work, which would entail 12 to 13 hours of on call shift, I'd come home, get some dinner, freshen up, and just do the minimum I could. So I could do like 20 practice questions, or I could go through a topic or a TOG or a guideline, but I always made sure that I do something. And the reason for that was I just kept telling myself that this effort that I'm putting into this exam, I can't be repeating it all over again every 6 months in order to pass the exam. So if I put in the effort now as much as possible, then it'll save me, any reattempts and hopefully any failures. Because it's not the failure that's the problem in this exam. The problem in this exam is the effort, the time that's required to prepare for the exam, firstly. Secondly, the resources that you invest into. So, any courses you pay for, any subscriptions online that you may be paying for, the exam itself is quite costly. So all of that cost adds up, but also the time that it takes away from your life. And you can't just be giving 6 months to this exam every single time. So keep your aim really, really simple. And the aim should be, I just want to pass this exam, which means that you'd put in all the effort you can in the next 6 months, sit down and do it. So once it's done, oh my God, it's the best feeling ever. If you think that, oh, it's not a big deal, like it's just one of those exams and I'll get through it one day, but honestly, that day when you get that result and the moment you open it and you see a pass written next to it, you go into this euphoria. You are in a state of such goodness that you never want to come out of it, basically. But oh God, it's such a relief that all your effort, the patience that you had with this exam has finally resulted in a good outcome. And this means you don't have to think about this exam again, and all you now have to do is part 3 and get your membership. So it's all worth it putting in the effort. So if you are listening to this video today, you have done the first right thing in order to find out a bit about the exam. It's very important to know what you're going to sit, what the exam is going to entail if you're going to sit an exam, right? So we're going to be prepared, and we're going to prepare really well with maximum effort so you could pass this exam in the first go. Okay, so some important dates that you really need to keep a reminder for. I would suggest that you put reminders on your phone, or write it down on a notebook, because let me tell you, I know so many candidates who have over the years said to me, oh yes, I want to do this exam and this is date, and then haven't realized that the expression of interest has already closed, which means that they have not sent in the paperwork, and they haven't been able to apply for the exam in time. And this just means that you have to then do it the next time, and just prolongs everything for you. And if you are a trainee in the UK, this means that if you were, say, at SD5 of your training, you will not be able to progress to the next stage of your training if you haven't completed both the part 2 and the part 3. So this could have detrimental effects, onto your training and career. So write down these dates wherever you note your important dates down. And I would suggest that you don't. So say if the expression of interest closes on the 29th of March, don't put 29th on your calendar. Put the 28th, so that you've given yourself enough time just in case you happen to be busy around that time, so you've still got some room to play with. So then booking window opens on the 23rd of April, which is still a few months down the line. Then the booking window closes on the 30th of May, roughly about 5 weeks. And then the exam itself is on the 3rd of July 2024, and the results will be released on the 31st of July 2024. Right, so there's two papers to this exam. There's paper 1 and paper 2. Both papers are 3 hours long. They both have 50 single best answer questions and 50 extended matching questions. Total of 200 questions that you will be doing on that day. So normally the way it works is you do paper 1, and then you have a lunch break, which is approximately about an hour, and then you've got your paper 2. Now in the UK, this exam is done on the computer, which means that you will be given locations all around the UK as to where to book this exam. It'll be a center that you go into. There'll be computers, candidates doing other exams there. You'll be sat in front of a computer doing this exam. So it's no more paper based, and this all changed during COVID, and they've kept it like that. But it also means that it gives you a wider flexibility in terms of sitting the exam in various different parts, which may be closer to you than always having to travel to London or specific areas of the country. Now, in terms of weighing of the marks, the extended matching questions weigh more than your single best answers. So 60% of the total mark comes from the EMQs, and 40% of the total mark comes from your single best answers. So you really have to focus, obviously get as many questions right, but then your extended matching questions is where lots of people do struggle a bit with. I've had lots of candidates over the years say that I've always passed the single best answers, but when it comes to extended matching questions, I've not done so well. And the only reason for that is preparation and knowing the concepts really well, because that's what the extended matching questions are testing. Single best answers, you could even guess an answer. Not saying that's the right way to approach single best answers, but you know, the answer is there in front of you. Out of 5, 1 will be a correct answer. Yeah, you could give it a go, get the, you know, and there's small likelihood that you get it right. However, extended matching questions, there's about 20 choices there. So unless you know what you're really talking about, you're not going to be able to get those answers right. And that's the key, I think, where, in my opinion, people struggle with EMQs, is knowing the concepts really well. So make sure whenever you're revising for anything, you are actually, you understand what you're talking about. And one good tip to be able to know yourself that you can understand something is by actually explaining the concept to someone else. So when I was revising for my exams, I always tried to imagine that there was somebody sat in front of me, and I was trying to explain to them um, everything about the topic that I've just learned about. So, for example, if I read the guideline on shoulder dystocia, I would imagine that there is somebody sat in front of me, you know, and I'm trying to explain to this person what is shoulder dystocia, what is the incidence, what's the recurrence, how can you, what are the risk factors, what's the management, what are the complications. Those are things that I would want to explain to the person. If I can remember all that and be able to explain in simpler terms to the person opposite me, then I've understood the concept really well. So that's a good self check that you could do as well. Right, now in order to prepare for your MRCOG Part 2, there is lots of resources that you do need to access, and this is absolutely mandatory. So you've got your green top guidelines, you've got your NICE guidelines, you've got your FSRH, BASH guidelines, ESCO guidelines for all the cancer stuff, and then you've got your TOG articles. Now the green top guidelines, there are probably about 70 of those. You absolutely need to nail them. You need to know them really, really, really well. Now, I provide MRCOG Part 2 concise notes in a simplified manner, which I can promise and guarantee you. What I've done is I've gone through each and every green top guideline myself and summarized it for you. I've also included some nice guidelines, but what I've done, if you can obtain a copy of these MRCOG Part 2 notes, then you have got the crux of your MRCOG Part 2 revision done and dusted. So if you memorize that booklet that I would send to you, then that's you done with your guideline preparation. So it's very, very important piece of work. And I personally have gone through each guideline, got you the most important bits from every guideline, and put it all in a PDF. So you have got a copy of this, and you can just keep it with you, go through, keep going through it over and over again, up to the exams. So by summarizing the green top and some of the important NICE guidelines, I have made sure that you have got the most important piece of work figured out for you, because it is quite time consuming to be sat down revising and you know and summarizing all of this yourself, because some of these guidelines are 20 pages. For you to read the 20 pages and get what's important out of it can take a very it's a very tedious process, especially if you've also got work and other life commitments on top. So I've done this for you. I will provide you a link underneath this video in the description box where you could and the steps in which you could you need to do in order to obtain a copy for yourself. FSRH are all the contraception guidelines, BASH is all the infectious diseases, ESCO is all the cancer stuff, and then TOG articles. Now, it is recommended that you do at least 5 years of TOG articles, summary. Um, Again, what I have done is picked up the most important talks from your entire TOG volumes and put all these important points in a PDF format. So if you want a copy of that as well, then please follow the link down below. Now, unfortunately, these things are paid and not free, just because of the worth they carry and the amount of effort it's taken me to go over this and make it all simplified for you. But it's done with an intention to help you the most, because I have done this exam. I know what it feels like to sit this exam. I know the struggles. I know the challenges. I have spoken to so many candidates over the years who have said things about struggling to basically do the exam because they haven't got the right revision notes, and they've all come back to me to say, I wish I could get a copy of their revision notes. Why don't you do something like this? So, taking your feedback into account, I have gone ahead and made these summary notes. So please benefit from them. Do not look at you should not be concentrating on the cost, because this will all be worth it. In the end, it'll just all come together. Um, and it'll be you who'll be the happiest person sat in your chair, thanking and being relieved when you get your results. Right, so these were the books I personally used for my MRCOG Part 2 exam. So these are question books. Now, I'd recommend that you start using these as soon as you start revising for the exam. So do not set time aside to do questions. Your questions should be part of your revision. Revision and questions are not two separate things. A lot of people do this mistake. They try and memorize and learn the guidelines first and then go into questions. That's not how you attempt this exam. I'm really sorry to break your bubble, because if that's what you think, but that's not how you're going to pass this exam. In order to pass this exam, you have to do the questions alongside your revision, which means you do 20 questions from your textbook, and then also do a bit of revision around what the questions were and what you got wrong, and then do them repeatedly. It's not enough for you to do them once and then leave it alone, because it's not gonna you're not gonna retain much. To keep practicing the questions, you have to do at least 4,000 new questions from now up till the exam, not just once, repeatedly, in order for you to pass the exam with absolutely no problems. Now, organize your revision notes. So if you're obviously getting copies of my revision notes, then they are all organized for you. I've got the talk summaries along with the guideline summaries. So both together, you are pretty much sorted in terms of your revision notes. Um, However, if you are making your own revision notes, then do bear in mind that you don't want something that goes on for 100 pages, because it's absolutely impossible for a human mind to keep and retain all that information. You need your notes to be summarized and concise and to the point, so you can just obtain all the important information and retain it. And that's the main thing for that exam. With nerves on the exam day, with you being nervous about it, with you being in an unfamiliar surrounding, never have attempted the exam. All of these factors would mean that you will naturally forget some of that information. But if you've repeatedly gone over it, made very much summarized, concise notes, then you'll have absolutely no problem. And you get to keep a copy of these notes, so you just print it out, leave it by your bedside, um, go over it every night before you go to bed. um, we all come back to the bed in order to sleep. So just go spend 10-20 minutes before you actually sleep in order to memorize and test yourself of some of the information that you've learned. And that's where the notes that I have done will come handy. Past exam papers. Now, very crucial to any revision in your life is to be able to know what sort of questions come up. Now, I have taken, keeping those questions in mind, I have prepared again new questions from the talks and just MRCOG questions in general. They're all available free of charge on this channel, but I've also done extra questions and put it up on my website as well. So you've got lots of questions to practice from. Now, it's very important that you sign up to some online subscription as well. One such subscription is Master MRCOG. I have personally gone through their questions to see how relevant they are, and I can see that they are very close to what the exam is like. So it's just handy for you to have an online subscription to one of these resource banks. What that means is, again, the more you expose yourself to lots of questions and material out there, the more likely and the more increased chance of you having success on that day. Now, it's quite important that when you do your questions, not initially, but nearer the time. So I would say from about 2 months before the exam, so about 8 weeks before the exam, you should be doing questions under exam settings. What that means is only give yourself time that you think you will be given in the exam. So you don't want to attempt 10 questions in 2 hours at home and then be asked to do 100 questions in 3 hours, because that's just you're never going to be able to finish the exam. Now, over the years, I've not had many candidates complain about the fact that they were not able to finish the exam. Most of you are fine with time, but it's very important that you practice it so that the exam conditions are not a shock to your system. The most important thing, so if you think I've covered the important things so far, I haven't, because this is the most important thing. Look after yourself. There are so many people who get burnt out with revision, with work, with just losing it completely. That's not how you approach this exam. This exam is slow and steady. It's not about cramming everything the night before the exam and trying to do the exam. No, this is about slow progress over the next few months, and that's how you get to the end goal. So remember, look after yourself, keep yourself hydrated, make sure you get your good night sleep every night. Make sure you go for walks, make sure you're eating healthy, because all of these factors would, mean that whether you're able to revise well or not. So if you're not sleeping well, if you're not looking after yourself, you're likely to fall ill right before the exam. And this actually happened to one of my friends who ended up not doing the exam on the exam day because she was unwell. And you don't want all this effort that you've done for the last 6 months to go to waste just because you were not able to sit the exam on the exam day. The exam day itself, because it's so long, you've got your 3 hour exam, then you've got your break, and then you've got another 3 hours. It's 6 to 7 hours, and then you'll be traveling, time as well if you add on to that. It's a pretty long day that you will be expected to perform at your peak, and you can't perform well if you haven't slept well, or you've not kept yourself hydrated, or you've not looked after your mental and physical health. So look after yourself, because that is what is the most important thing. Everything else comes second, okay? Now, this is my website. I'll be posting a link underneath this video as well, but these are some of the things I offer. So I offer notes for MRCOG Part 2. I also offer some questions from the 5-year talks. I also offer some, TOG revision notes as well. I offer MRCOG Part 2 revision classes as well. So if you think you need more help in order to formulate a plan for your revision, or there is any guideline in particular that you'd like me to summarize for you, or you just need somebody to support you in any questions or queries or concerns, or there's something that you can't understand, then I'm here for you. All you do is book via the link on my website, and then you will be able to get hold of me, and we can have a one-to-one chat as to whatever you are struggling with. I also offer MRCOG Part 3 practice as well. So when you do pass your Part 2 and you need help for your Part 3, I'll be here as well. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope this video has been really useful for you. But please remember to look after yourself, because you are the most important thing. Nothing else matters. Everything else comes secondary. Don't make revision such a priority that you completely neglect yourself. I'm sure you all are working really hard. You've got long hours at work, and all that makes you already, it depletes your stores, and it's already compromising your good health. So look after yourself. um, Slow and steady, remember those words, slow and steady. There is nothing about this exam that you need to hurry up and do. However, notes are the most important thing. So if you are making your own notes, and you're happy with those, then that's fine. But if you haven't started yet, or struggling to make your Part 2 notes, then do remember that you could get a copy of them from me, and I have gone through all the guidelines and the TOG articles in order to prepare these notes well for you. So please do let me know if you'd like a copy. Thank you so much for listening.